And welcome back everybody to another episode of All the Mods 10. We are back in our little cave right next to the mystical agricultural farm. Last episode I did say I will get into Applied Energistics. Mind you, this is only the intro to Applied Energistics, so just setting up the system, getting something set up for some basic auto crafting. I don't think we are at a point where we need to dive into the very specifics. However, we will get to that point at eventually. So if you guys are confused with Applied Energistics and any of the systems, I will try to explain it the best I can, or explain it how I do it, and hopefully that can help guide you along the way as to how you're supposed to set it up. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So, Applied Energistics, we already created the things necessary for a system. What I did do offline was I made some storage drives so that we can actually start putting things inside the system, which is pretty cool. The only downside is we haven't made the wireless terminal just yet, so let's make that one of the goals of this episode. And when we're over here, let's see, we're gonna need this guy. That's the goal, at least the crafting terminal. As for the universal one, if we have time, we'll try to do that. However, I don't know. I have and haven't been lucky with Applied Energistics. And as you can see, there's a little bit that goes into it, because we will also need a dimensional card to actually be able to use it across different dimensions, which is why it is a little complicated. But there is a little method if you are not at a point where you can make the dimensional card, which isn't too crazy when you look at the recipe. I think the hardest part of this would maybe to be able to make this. I don't even know, because we already slayed the Wither quite a few times, and we set up little hostile neural network set up to farm his drops. So I have plenty of nether stars. I have enders. That's pretty simple. Over here, netherite. It's easy. We have tons of resources that we got from the builder. Not to mention the mystical agricultural farm has been running for quite a while. Whenever I am editing videos and or practicing my coding and working on other projects, I have this open in the background, so we have gathered quite a bit of resources. So if we ever run low, we could always just run over there, grab it, and we will be done. So one of the things that you can do with this setup is you can actually use this Ars Novo lectern through Applied Energistics. How do we do that, you ask? Well, first, we got to take care of that guy. Let's grab the wand real quick, because we're going to need that. But besides that, you just have to mine this guy up. And of course your chests, which in this case, I did make some packaging tape. It is one of the ways where you could seal a chest and be able to move it around. So you just click, boom, got those sealed. That's why I did make a wee bit of them, so that we can do this and then just mine it up. Pretty simple. No spillage, no lag, none of that. And then we'll head over to where we will be setting up our main base / the castle. Oh, little tip, you could hold the shift and then click to go to the very beginning or the very end. And then here, we'll just go to this waypoint, which I lowered it from the sky down to the ground. So now it's level with the rest of this little flat mountain that we kind of tried terraforming. I don't know. I need more practice when it comes to that, if I'm being honest. But if we come down here, as you can see, it is a little lit up. I made sure to put down some mega torches to prevent a hostile mob spawn, so we're not running into creepers, skeletons, zombies, all that stuff while we're down here. I did fill the disk drive up with 16K storage disks, or cells, whatever you want to call them. So we can start moving things in here. But as I said, I think I might leave this alone just for right now. We'll put a priority of 20. The purpose of priority is, as you can see, when it comes to inserting things, things will be put in here first, and then when we extract it, it'll not pull from here first. So it is one of the ways where you could slowly get materials out of one area and put it into another, but we don't really care about that for right now. I just want to show this off, but you could put down the chests just like that, nice and simple, and then you get your little storage lectern, put it down. I'm gonna raise it just for demonstration purposes. At some point I will be destroying it, so who cares? So we'll raise it up like that. We'll respawn our little guy right there. Okay. I don't know why it was giving me issues earlier, but just like that. We connect all of them and we could access it. Of course, when we do that, we do have to redo the binding. But once you have the binding set, you can just keep using it. So we'll put this back on our belt. But the cool thing is, if you do have a ME storage bus, you can put it to the bottom and then connect it to your system. Let's see. Yep, just like that. And just like that, when you do come to this interface, you can access everything, which is pretty cool. Let me set this. Boom. So everything that you could access from the Ars Nouveau terminal, you can access here. So with that, we are going to make another little storage bus. At some point, I will be moving everything over. I might do that offline just because it will take time. I don't know if you guys remember, we set up a little storage system over here using a dimensional chest and this factory manager to move things around. Well, now's the time where we could move this chest over to the ME system area and have everything be accessed by the ME terminal, which will be awesome because we have quite a few resources that are growing here that we can just access. Alright, now that we have it moved over here and set up, all we gotta do is relink everything. So we'll do this, come over here, drag it, click on this one, drag it, and just like that, it is all linked together. They are all still locked, so we don't really have to use the configuration tool. And for the cool part is right here in the front, we can install a nice little storage bus. We can also put it on the bottom, which I'm thinking I'm gonna do. As for hiding this cable, I think I'll do that. And so with that, we'll just come over here. We'll connect the ME cable and bring it right on over this way. Let's connect it right there. Oops. And then when we click right there, everything should be connected. If you do want to cover this, you can make some facades, whatever you want to call them. I don't care. You can put it there and decorate it to whatever you want so it looks like it's a normal block. But when we come over here, just like before, boom, we can access everything. So just with those two things alone, we can access everything inside here and over here and use it. The one thing that I do recommend is if you come over here, make sure you set this priority insanely high just so that whenever you're done using the essences, it does just get put back over here. As for this stuff, as I said earlier, I do plan on moving it all into the storage cells, so I don't really care about the priority level on this one. It can stick in here or over there. I don't really care. Doesn't matter too much. But yeah, that's probably some of the cool things that we could do with Applied Energistics. But first, let's get our label thing back, because if we don't set this up, we are going to have issues. So this is still the same program. We do need a shift right click. Whoops. Shift right click this. Then when we're over here, we'll select A. So the input will be from here. And then B will be output there. So we could keep clearing this device. And don't forget, once you do that, right click it to push it into the factory manager so it knows where to put things. Because if not, you're going to be a little confused why it's still backed up. Alright, and so with that done, I think the next step is to create our little auto crafting area. And to be able to do that, there are a few things we will need. Some of the things we will need are some co-processing units, crafting storage, ME pattern provider, and molecular assembler. So the pattern provider and assembler combo is what's used to actually craft the things. The provider is where the little patterns will be stored, and that's what pushes the items into said inventory to be crafted. As I said, the molecular assembler will craft normal recipes. And if you want to look at how you could get this set up, there is, well, the built-in guide is pretty useful for explaining this. But yeah, this is probably what we're going to do. We'll set up one of these for now just because we're going to be getting into it, and then later we will be upgrading our little area. And so, with that, let's get busy. And so, just like that, we managed to craft our molecular assembler and pattern provider. Since we are still kind of getting this area set up, it's gonna look pretty ugly how we're gonna do this in the beginning. So I think I'm just gonna bury it under here. So I'm gonna mine out a little area and then I'll build it. And so now that we have a little area mined out down here, all what we'll do is do a nice little alternating pattern where it'll look something like this, and then we'll alternate it every layer until we're done. And just like that, we have a nice little area to automatically craft things. Oops, wrong spot. But this isn't all that's needed. We also need to set up a little area that will actually take the items and craft it. What we will need to build next is one of these little crafting CPU setups where it does use co-processing units and some sort of a crafting storage. This is what manages the crafting request/jobs, as you can see, and the reason why there's a number in the storage is because that's how many items available that one CPU can craft. So let's say there's a recipe that requires 2,000 items worth. Well, a 1K won't be able to handle it, so you will need a higher tier storage. That's the reason why we're making 264s, just so in the early game we can craft those high number items relatively quickly. Just like that, we got our 216s. Now we are going to craft them into this block, which requires some crafting units, which is made pretty easily with a couple calculation processors and one logic, and a few fluid cables. And if you take a look over here at the co-processing unit, it is the same crafting unit, however, it will utilize an engineering processor. So I will craft that up and then I'll be back in a moment. Alright, as for how we set up this crafting CPU, we will be combining the mix of the units and the storages. I did plan on setting it up here, but since I haven't destroyed this yet, I'm going to put it right here, so it's going to look a wee bit ugly. So please bear with it until I get to a point where I can actually fix this. But yeah, if you were to put these down and then connect it to a storage, it'll automatically merge and make a CPU. You can make this however thick you want, so right here I did just make it a 4x3 but you can make it as simple as just 1 and 1. As long as it changes textures and combines, that's how you know you made a proper little thing. Reason why you would want to put a few more processing units to a storage would be to increase the speed of a said process. So let's say if there is a recipe that requires you to craft quite a lot of items, or that needs quite a lot of items, and you look at the time it takes, it might take like 5-10 minutes. But if you start putting more co-processing units on at least one of these storages, it'll increase the speed of which you can craft said item, as long as all your machines can keep up. That's an important one. So in theory, you could just keep adding more and more and more to make this faster, 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 and faster. But later down the line, there are different things that we could craft that will increase the speed exponentially. But just since we are in the beginning, this will do just fine. So we'll leave that one there. This one I'm gonna build right here, but once I do empty all this out, I will put it back right there. And just like that, boom. We have 2 CPUs, and all that is left to do is connect them, which you just add a cable real quick, and just like that, we technically have everything needed to start the automation process. I know channels might be something some of y'all struggle with, and easy to say if you don't know just yet. Each face of one of these controllers supports up to 32 channels. So if we want to count manually right now, consider this face, we can only support 32. That's max, and that is using a dense cable. However, since we are using the bare basic cable available, we can only connect up to 8 channels before it loses signal. So with this cable, you connect it here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and technically 7, which is not bad. That means on this face, we can only connect at least 1 more item. But what about this face? Well, if I were to destroy this and move this over, we gain an extra channel right here, and then this one will finally have 1 channel. Pretty cool when you kind of just keep track of it properly, but later on, it can get pretty messy, and when that does happen, that's when I recommend using the smart dense cables, because you'll be able to see how many channels are being used on a certain line, which is very helpful. Alright, the next step, if we want to start autocrafting, would be to make one of these encoding and access terminals. So let's get started with that first. As you can see, I moved the crafting terminal over just so that I can remind myself not to connect anything else over here. From now on, we will connect through here, this side, or the front, which I don't think I'm gonna do that anytime soon, just because I do plan on upgrading our controller little network at some point. But now that we have the encoding terminal and access terminal, if we click here, this is where we can access the molecular assemblers and put the processors or the patterns inside, which I think we're missing 1. You see? I forget, when you do connect this device, it does use a channel per one of these providers. So that means this needs an exact 8 channels. So an easy way to fix this is come over here. We'll disconnect this cable, and then we'll connect it to the bottom of the controller, and just like that, everything should be connected, unlike before. And so when we come over to the access terminal, we could see 8 molecular assemblers are connected. So this is the size that is currently available of all the different patterns we can put in here, which is pretty cool because for the process type patterns, you don't put it inside this terminal. You put it inside the pattern provider that we will be connecting to said device that the process is carried out in. We will get into that in a little bit. First, if we ever want to start automating things, we first got to make a pattern and then encode whatever we want to craft onto it. So we come over here to the blank patterns, and first I should come over here and craft a few. As you can see, we don't have this, but in a short little time frame, we have some patterns, and just like that, we are now able to create patterns to start the automation process. I think one of the basic things you should do when you're at this point is to automate a process to make patterns. It just helps because at some point you're just going to be making these left and right. So we'll just click, and just like that, we have a pattern for the blank patterns, and then we are going to want one for each ingredient in here.
So yes, we're gonna need iron, the copper, glowstone, circles.
And so when you have all of them, you cannot shift click them, but the thing is you can click and put them down. Rule of thumb is to put the patterns going down each row one at a time, or each column. Purpose for it, I think it becomes more evenly spread throughout all of it, so it helps with crafting time. I'm not too sure, so just follow it. If you know the actual technical reasons why, please let me know down in the comments. That would help us out quite a bit. After all, there's a few of us that don't know what we're doing. I do know up to a certain extent, but not the complete story. So when we take a look at this, we are able to craft basically everything. However, glass. There's something about glass that's different from the others. And I think that's because to get glass, you do have to smelt sand. So when we click encode pattern, if you take a look at it, it does change from a normal recipe to a processing pattern. So if you look over here, crafting. Look at this one, processing. Oh, that's a slight difference. Oh, not to mention we can actually start crafting sand, which is super nice. It just uses some of the essences we now have. So we can do that, put this over here. And as for the sand, we will need a furnace to be able to get this step done. So I'll be back in just a moment. And so we are back. This is not how our actual setup is gonna look. This is just for demonstration purposes and to help some people that don't know how to get this set up started. So when you have your little CPU set up and your storage matrix, in a sense, I guess, once you have those things set up, the next thing is to connect different devices that will carry out different processes. Because if we take a quick look over here, it does say this is a processing pattern where we are turning one sand into glass, and to do that, you do it at a place that smelts. So yeah, you cannot just connect an ME cable, dense cable, or any other cable directly to a furnace or any other machine that might be doing the process. That's not how it works. It does need to connect to an applied Energistics pattern provider, whether it's the normal one or an extended from extended AE or advanced AE, any of the sorts. But yes, once it is connected, you come in here and it has a little area where you could store some patterns. And since we are trying to make glass, we want to put this pattern connected to the machine. And then here we put the pattern. So this machine should know how to make us some glass. But as you can see, there's more steps if you don't already know, because this will automatically put items into a machine if it needs it. So here we're going to need to do a little something, because if we wanted to keep it a furnace, we are going to need to supply it with lava. And if you guys remember how we set up the little area back at our old base, you would need to set it up here and have it automatically put the lava in and take it out and keep doing that. However, I'm kind of tired of using that lava generator for fuel. And since we have a reactor that's making a couple 40,000 RF per tick, I think we should start utilizing some of that energy rather than letting it go to waste. And to do that, we will be turning our furnace into a factory. So all we need to do is make this augment. And just like that, whenever we come over here, we could just right click it and boom. It has become a factory, just like the smelting factories from Mechanism. It has multiple inputs, has multiple outputs, and if you click auto split and you turn it on, whenever it does put the ingredients here, it automatically splits so it can cook faster. Instead of using any burnable source for fuel, it is now dependent on redstone flux or energy, whatever you want to call it. And so, since we do have a little power source right here, all we have to do is come over here and get some cables that we have laying around and bring it over and connect it. And just like that, this will charge up, and if we need sand, it'll automatically do it. One of the things that I do recommend looking at is when you're using this, there is a way where you could put a barrel and then have it being exported or imported and exported through that barrel into the provider to send it into the system. However, if my memory serves me right, you can automatically connect the provider to the furnace without having to worry about any extra steps. The only thing you have to do is come to the little configuration panel and make sure the top is set to input and output, and then make sure you have your auto input output set to on. As long as you have that set, you have your provider touching the furnace and it has the pattern that's required. You can come over here to the ME Crafty terminal, look up glass, and then if you middle click it, it'll open up this little panel where you could request a certain amount of an item. And since we have 494 glass, we'll make 6. And then we'll click next. As you can see here, it tells you how much items are being used, how much bytes it's going to take, and then you just click start. And just like that, since our machine is super good and pretty fast, it did it instantly. One of the cool things about this is if you click over here, you have 2 more slots where you could put some more augments. And so the ones that I would recommend is the speed augment. So the augments I recommend would be the speed augment. With the speed augment, it will increase the speed faster. So right there, we were only requesting about 500 glass, which in this case, that's nothing. But say if we wanted to craft something that's more heavy, like let's say we want to craft another 1,000 stone, and since we have the cobblestone for it, what we would have to do is come over here, create another pattern. If it's a processing pattern that requires smelting, we put it in here, and then this will be craftable automatically through the system. Hopefully I described this process well enough for you to understand. I do plan on showing you guys how to set up some of these factories from Mechanism, but just because of how long it took me to record and get this set up, I think I might just leave it at that. One thing that I will do offline is make myself a wireless crafting terminal which isn't too hard considering we now have access to raw resources that can help us get further ahead. And as you can see, the dimensional card isn't too expensive now that we have entered a stage where raw resources are being grown at an accelerated rate. With that, guys, hopefully everything in this episode was digestible and wasn't too crazy or hard to comprehend. If you do have questions, let me know in the comments. I will do my best to address it, and if there's anything that might be confusing, I might be willing to go over it in another video. There are going to be a lot more processes that we will have to set up that will take quite a bit of time, and I do plan on taking my time explaining everything, just because I know when I first started playing this mod pack, I wasn't that knowledgeable when it comes to applied energistics and setting up these processes. So I want to do my best to help you guys out, because if you guys are playing this mod pack, crafting everything by hand will be impossible. Like, I'm sorry to say, there is no just crafting everything by hand. You will get tired, you will feel burnout, and you will probably quit. But if you have applied energistics and you could set up some sort of system to get that stuff done, it's going to make your life way easier. Trust me on that. So what do I have planned for next episode? I think we might take a small little break away from the tech and dive right into some magic. Yes, Ars Nouveau will be the mod that we are hopping into, as well as some iron spells, just because there is a little invisibility spell that if you insert it into a potion card for pylons, you could just get infinite invisibility where mobs can't see you at all, which will help us a ton because we have yet to go to the other to fight any piglitches, and we don't have the unobtainium template yet. So next episode will be us diving into the magic mods, hopefully getting everything set up so that we can make a trip over to the other and get some stuff done to keep progressing. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, and while you're down there, just put a random comment. Just do whatever you can. Help us put this content on the radar, help other people see it, and if they're playing along with this in this mod pack at this new version, because I did update it to 3.0, it might help them out, because now we do have refined storage, we have create, we have flex networks. There's quite a bit of stuff that might have been changed and or added, and so this might help them out as we are playing. As I said, if you have questions, make sure to put it down there. If you guys just want to talk, by all means, put something down there. If it's something that I can address or talk about, sure, I'll say a little something. If it's easier for me to say it in a video, I might talk about it while I'm doing crafting or something of the sort. And if you guys haven't already, please subscribe. That helps us out a ton. And so guys, with that, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, peace.